A theory made up by a mage called Eltebald, which caused the mistreatment and in some cases deaths of many children. The theory was that 60 females born during or within a few days of the Black Sun solar eclipse would be cursed and destined to be evil. This curse was called the Curse of the Black Sun. In this video, we're going to be looking into what the curse is, along with what would happen to the affected children. This is going to be a 3-part series, as there's quite a bit to cover, so if you haven't already, click the subscribe button so you don't miss out on the next part, and if you are subbed, keep an eye out on your sub box, as the next part will be up within the week. So, what is the curse? The Curse of the Black Sun is a curse that was predicted to affect 60 female children of royal families who happened to be born during or within a few days of the Black Sun eclipse. The affected 60 were predicted to be possessed by demons which would cause them to be cruel and have an urge for killing. These acts of cruelty and the killing of innocents were meant to prepare the evil goddess Lilith's return to the world of the living, to which she would bring the end of humanity. It was prophesied that they would wreak havoc throughout the land, filling the river valleys with blood. So, where did this curse come from? The person responsible for bringing the most attention to it was the mage Eltebald. Eltebald had a keen interest in the study of ancient artifacts and mythology, which is where he discovered references to the Black Sun and what it would bring with it. After discovering this, he took it upon himself to warn everyone he could in an attempt to prevent it. The first supposed victim of this curse we're going to be looking at is Renfri. But before we get into who she is and her story, I feel it's important to bring up the mage Stregobor, as he played a key role in the life of Renfri. This prophecy had its share of believers and non-believers. One of the stauncher believers of the prophecy was a man named Stregobor. Stregobor was a mage from Kovir who specialised in illusions. Stregobor was a member of the council, tasked with dealing with the 60 cursed women, and put in quite a lot of effort into trying to learn more about them. Some of his efforts included carrying out autopsies on children he believed were afflicted by the curse, and in one case, he also performed a vivisection, which is basically operating on a live subject, and most of the time, they didn't even administer any anesthetics. Some insight into Stregobor's reasons for feeling how he did about the prophecy is given from a conversation Geralt has with Stregobor when he runs into him in Blaviken. During this conversation, Stregobor explains to Geralt that during one of the autopsies on a girl suspected to be afflicted by the curse, they came across very interesting results that indeed suggested that the girl was mutated, possibly from the curse. Some of the results they came across included some sort of red sponge growing within the skull and marrow, missing internal organs, or organs within the body misplaced, along with anomalies related to the heart. They also noted aggressive and cruel tendencies in their behaviour, which convinced Stregobor even more. Geralt was having none of it, and explained to Stregobor that these findings were meaningless, and that he'd come across many people affected by mutations that could be the result of a curse, but he explained that instead of outright killing them in order to study their corpse, he extricated them from the spells and freed them from their curses. During this conversation, Stregobor also reveals that initially, all the girls that were suspected of being afflicted by the curse were outright killed. Stregobor says, it was initially decided to eliminate all of them. We got rid of a few. Autopsies were done on all of them. One was even vivisectioned. Stregobor then later admits that determining who was cursed and who wasn't was too hard in the end, so they resorted to locking away suspected girls in towers in an attempt to isolate them from the rest of society. This may sound better than killing the girls, but it is just as equally cruel. Imagine being taken away from your family at a young age to be imprisoned in a tower alone. Many of the girls couldn't take this and committed suicide by starving themselves to death. Stregobor commented that interesting occurrences happened, such as some girls becoming clairvoyant within the days leading up to their death, which he viewed as more evidence to the truth of the prophecy. After hearing what Stregobor had to say, Geralt stuck to his belief that Stregobor and the other mages on the council were only using this so-called curse to their own personal benefit. Geralt stated that the mages used the curse as a cover-up to strengthen their own authority by breaking up royal alliances and disrupting potential marriages between royal families by taking away their daughters on the false claim that they were cursed. During this conversation, Stregobor mentions Renfri, who he feared was hunting him, as he was the one that convinced her family she was cursed. Renfri was a girl supposedly afflicted by the curse of the Black Sun. She was born within the time frame of the eclipse, and was the princess of Creighton, a small vassal state of Kovir and Povis. Because of this, she met all the requirements of the curse and therefore came up on the council's radar after being informed by her stepmother, Iridia. Iridia contacted Stregobor to investigate her stepdaughter Renfri, and after having it confirmed by Stregobor, hired a thug to take Renfri out into the woods to be killed. Instead of killing Renfri straight away, the thug attempted to rape her and was caught off guard and killed when Renfri drove a brooch through his ear and into his brain. After escaping the thug, Renfri made her way to Mahakam, where she grew up on the streets to later become a bandit known as Shrike, and had formed a band of dwarven followers that helped her rob merchants and perform other crimes. In the years she spent growing up and becoming Shrike, she became very adept at wielding a sword and rather infamous after successfully killing many hired assassins sent after her by her stepmother Iridia. Stregobor believed that Renfri ended up getting revenge on her family for sending her out to be killed, as he believed she poisoned Iridia and set up her father to be killed in an odd hunting accident, while also causing the disappearance of Iridia's eldest child. Stregobor believed he was next, and he wasn't wrong. Stregobor mentioned that he had already nearly been killed by Renfri when he ran into her in Mahakam. Renfri recognised him straight away and lunged at him trying to kill him, to which he cast a spell and narrowly escaped. Though he escaped the first attempt, Renfri tried many more times to assassinate him, but they were all unsuccessful and all ended up in Stregobor escaping after casting spells on her. Because of the amount of times Stregobor escaped Renfri with the aid of magic, it had caused Renfri to become resistant to his spells, which Stregobor saw as more proof of the mutation, but as Geralt stated, it could also be that Renfri was in possession of a powerful magic-resisting artifact. Stregobor mentioned to Geralt that he had heard rumours of Renfri arriving in town and that she was looking for him. He begged Geralt to kill her in order to save him, explaining to Geralt that this choice was the choice of the lesser evil. Geralt told him he would not murder her over this, and instead went to meet with Renfri to try and get her side of the story. After a somewhat confrontational first meeting, Renfri snuck into the room Geralt was staying in and explained her side of the story. Renfri told Geralt she believed that the reason her stepmother Iridia was so adamant on having her labelled as cursed was so that her children could be put up in the line to be the heir to the throne. Renfri also made a proposition to Geralt, which was to lure Stregobor out to where she could kill him, or just to not get in the way when she tries to. Though Geralt refuses these offers, Renfri believes she can still convince him by sleeping with him. Before leaving Geralt for the night, she told the Witcher she and her band would leave the town, and no blood would be shed. Geralt thought she had conceded and was being sincere, but he couldn't have been more far from the truth. Renfri had planned to lure Stregobor out of his tower by slaughtering people in the marketplace until he emerged, which was somewhat similar to what members of her gang had done to a baron in Tridem 3 years prior. Geralt made his way to the market to confront Renfri and her gang and try to keep the peace. He was met only by her gang, who informed him Renfri was already at the tower and that they were tasked with the slaughtering if Stregobor refused to leave. With Geralt now blatantly ignoring the gang's threats, a fight broke out, which ended in the butchering of all of them by Geralt's blade. With busted stalls and the ground littered with leaking dead bodies of Renfri's gang, Renfri appeared. She explained to Geralt that Stregobor refused her offer and that she could clearly see Geralt had made up his mind. She lunged at him, striking with her sword. The battle was fierce, but she was obviously no match for the Witcher, and took a strike to the thigh, which caused her to bleed out and die on the marketplace cobblestones. After this fight, Stregobor appeared from his tower and examined the body of Renfri, proposing to Geralt that they must start the autopsy at once. Geralt, still upset that he was forced to choose a side in this, ordered Stregobor not to touch her or he would be meeting the same fate. Stregobor listened and left on his way back to Kovir, leaving Geralt in the middle of the bloodied marketplace. The crowd of peasants began throwing stones and roaring at the mess Geralt had just made. Geralt shielded himself with Quen until the aldermen stopped the commotion. Though Geralt had just saved them all they saw was the bloodshed, which ended in him being banished and labelled as the Butcher of Blaviken. Though the story of Renfrey seems to make her out to be some sort of monster, it's easy to see why she turned out this way after being exiled at a young age and forced to live a very rough life on the streets. The decision of whether she was really cursed or whether it's just because of her horrible life is up to you, and there's really no way to fully confirm one over the other due to the conflicting situations on each side of the argument. So yeah, that's the end of part 1 of this series. I'll have part 2 up within the next week, so subscribe if you haven't already, and if you have, keep an eye on your sub box. But yeah, thanks for watching.